Deputy Chairman Fred Hampton of the Illinois Black Panther Party.
Repeat after me. I am a revolutionary. I am a revolutionary. I am a revolutionary. I am a revolutionary. I am a revolutionary.
You're looking at 18 months for the stolen car, 5 years for impersonating a federal officer, or you can go home.
The Black Panthers are forming a rainbow coalition of oppressed brothers and sisters of every color.
Their aim is to sow hatred and inspire terror.
I will learn all that I can.
These ain't no terrorists.
You can murder a liberator, but you can't murder liberation. You can murder a revolutionary, but you can't murder revolution. And you can murder a freedom fighter, but you can't murder freedom. I'm gonna die for the people 'cause I live for the people. I live for the people 'cause I love the people.
Welcome everybody to the post-screening talk back for HBCU Buzz with a fantastic movie, Judas and the Black Messiah. So a little while ago, I had the pleasure of seeing Judas and the Black Messiah, right? And you guys are gonna hear this a lot moving forward as people start to see the movie. Obviously, I was blown away. I was blown away not just by the cinematic skill and execution of the film and the performances of so many people up here, but I was blown away by the impact that the movie made on me. Right? Having known and studied the life of Brother Fred Hampton, and having always wished that there was a story to tell, his importance, his influence, and just how many people relied on him to shape their worldview. So immediately I thought, when I saw the movie, what about the youth? What about the kids? What about the HBCUs?
Yeah.
Because more than anything, this film, in my opinion, is a tool. It's a tool that people need to have. It's a cultural tool, like a hammer or anything else, that people need to put in their belt so they know exactly what's on the line. Not only that they know what they can become, but a cautionary tale as to how far the status quo will go in order to make sure that no one comes along and disrupts the oppressive and limiting system that they have in place right now. So when I heard that there was an opportunity to talk to the HBCUs, I'm a proud alumnus of the best HBCU, Southern University. So when I had the opportunity to come and don't be triggered, you guys are not even into the
We're triggered.
Don't be triggered yet. You're not even into the talk just yet. When I knew that this was something where we could directly talk to the youth about this, I jumped at it. I watched the movie. I see the familiar faces from the film right now. Just before I even go any further, every single person on this screen was fantastic. And I hope that you guys are going to get the opportunity to feel the love that the characters that you've created, and what that's going to mean going forward, because it's a masterpiece. But enough about that. So we are joined by some of the cast members today to talk over the film and really the impact and how they hope that it affects people that see it. So we have Algee Smith, Dominique Thorne, Dominique Fishback, and Darrell Brit Gibson. All of us are together here. Obviously, all amazing contributors to the film. So I'm just going to throw out a question to you guys all at the same time. How much did you guys know about the life of Fred Hampton before you jumped into this particular movie?
Me myself, I knew about pieces of the life of Fred Hampton, nowhere near the totality of what I was able to learn and the knowledge I was able to garner while we were shooting the film. But it was just the obvious of his Black leadership for our community, not only for our community, but for other oppressed communities around. And that's what I knew. I didn't know nowhere near the in-depth knowledge that I was able to gain through the film at all.
And I didn't have the pleasure of going to a HBCU, but I went to Pace University, and I ended up going to the Black Student Union, and that was the first time that I heard of Fred Hampton. But again, I was in a theater company, in a theater program, so I was in and out, and so I didn't really, again, get to know as much as I know now. But when I first heard about the film, I was reading a book called A Taste of Power by Elaine Brown, who was a woman in the Panther Party. So I was already online without even knowing what Shaka had planned. So I was getting bits and like Algee, I was getting bits and pieces from the Panthers altogether. I knew that Deborah Johnson had kind of shielded his body during the raid. I did know that, and so I was excited to go deeper into what that story was for Chicago.
Yeah, and to piggyback on what Dom and Algee said, I think whatever I did know going into it, it was like I knew nothing when it came to doing like the real research of it and sort of the crash course that we kind of put ourselves through. Because I think you think you know about somebody and what they've done until you really do the deep dive, and you're like, wow, it's like to fit all that incredibleness into one human vessel is truly unbelievable, you know. And I think it's funny, the last thing I really found out about him was his age, that he was 21. Mm-hmm. And that was the thing, because I had learned, cause as I was reading, I'm doing all this research, and I'm like, man, this guy, you know, he had to be 45, 50 years old to do everything that he was doing. And when you find out that he's only 21, I mean, I get choked up just even speaking about it. But yeah, that's just sort of like, you know, I feel like I'm still learning about him every day.
Say similarly to Dom, I didn't attend an HBCU either, but I went to Cornell University, so definitely a PWI. And it wasn't until I had taken the time to get involved in the Black Student Union on campus and surround myself with students who more or less came to campus knowing that they wanted to be involved in these ways. And it was actually, I had gotten pretty close to some students who were involved in the BSU that were from Chicago. And it was from their education at their schools that I learned about Fred Hampton. I remember one of my closest friends at the time, he went to an all-boys school in Chicago before coming to Cornell. And it seemed like his entire education was centered around education of those leaders, of those figures that were really leading the movement in their respective cities, but that we never heard of, or at least me coming from Brooklyn, I had never heard of these leaders from Chicago and further Midwest. So that's really what opened the door to my education. But again, like everyone is saying, it really seems that pales in comparison to actually being on set and starting to really like dig deeper and to take the time to do the research to find out like what it was about this man that incentivized these kids, these young adults to like take the action that they did to put their lives up for this man and for the movement the way that they did. So yeah.
So something struck me about the movie, and you know, the more you know about Fred and the more you know about the Panthers period, you know, kind of how they look at the world, but more specifically, Chairman Fred, is that nowhere in the movie can I remember Fred Hampton saying the white man. Fred Hampton says the system, he says the oppressor, he talks about the cops, he talks about it all as pieces of a functionality puzzle that oppress anyone that is a revolutionary, okay? During this time where we're dismantling white supremacy, where we're talking about sort of some of the things that go on as it relates to our place, Black people's place in America, was there anything you learned about the way that Fred looked at the world, the way that those Panthers looked at the world, that maybe actually even changed your worldview about things that are going on today? because I think a lot of people are going to be surprised to see at that particular time him standing next to Latinx movements, next to white movements, and all talking about the people and how inclusive that idea of the people is. Did you learn anything? Did it change any of you guys' perspectives on things, how they are today?
I'll say I think it kind of cemented some of the nuggets, the bits and pieces that you kind of pick up through time, or at least as a Black individual. I feel like as you get older and you sort of assume this history of what it means to be Black in America, I feel like as that becomes more central to who you are, if it does, I think that you do hear over time that we need to unite, that there needs to be a sense of solidarity, that solidarity needs to be the focus, and that that's the mission. But then I also think that, as is common for most oppressed groups, it's easy for our focus and our mission and our goals to be distorted by the oppressor, whoever that is, at whatever period in time. So I think working on this film and getting to hear so many of Fred Hampton's speeches and to just be submerged in that world of of Fred Hampton's worldview for the amount of time that we were privileged enough to have, I think that sort of just like removed all of the fillers that you hear. I think it removed all of the noise, for lack of a better word, and it helped you to remember, like, oh yeah, that was the goal, that was the purpose, that was what started this all. You know, that was what really compelled me to want to be involved in BSU or whatever, for the individual. You know, it sort of just reminds you of what you already know to be true. Yeah, that's what it did for me, for sure.
I think for me, Daniel and I, we had to go to Chicago to meet Chairman Fred Jr. and Mama Okua, Deborah Johnson then, Mama Okua now. And I remember she was so adamant about how they didn't talk out of turn and they were so disciplined. Discipline was very important. And so there was things in the movies like, well, I wouldn't say this, I wouldn't say that. And obviously for movie's sake, we have to, you know, say certain things and have a different kind of voice to relate to our people a little bit differently now. But what I learned from being in this experience was how to trust Black men. I thought that was a big deal for me because, you know, mostly it's a boys club, and so Dom and I, you know, we're there. But I remember being like going into it and saying, oh dang, are my jokes gonna land? Is my voice gonna be respected? Like I was thinking those things. Obviously, I worked with Algee in The Hate U Give, and so I knew him from then, and I'd met Daniel, so I felt it wasn't the case, but I didn't know. And going there, I really appreciate these men so much because they're all successful and they all made sure that our voices were heard and they were respected and our bodies were respected and our time and space. And so there was one time where I was talking to Shaka, the director, about a specific moment for Deborah Johnson. And I remember being like, I don't know what it is. And I told Daniel, and Daniel agreed with me. And he was like, I'll talk to Shaka. I'm like, when are you gonna talk to him? I'll talk to him tomorrow. I'm like, tomorrow, we're doing the scene tomorrow, right? And I had, and I was like, you know, what if we give him time? And he said, sometimes people, when they could only focus on one thing, is the best time to do that. So then like all morning I'm nervous. I'm like, is he gonna talk to him? He's gonna talk to him. And then I had to pause and say, Dom, he said he's gonna do it. Let him do it. That's what I tell myself. And sure enough, he was a man of his word. He kept his word. And so I think that's what a lot of you guys have done for me, you know, showed me that I could trust men in general. I could trust Black men. And I think that was something that Mama Okua felt strongly about Fred. She could trust him. Many people felt strongly about Fred, you know, that they can trust him with their lives. And so that's what I learned in this experience.
Yeah. Brothers, we got to pause for a second, man.
Yeah.
Now I'm being all the way real. I want us to sit in that for a second. Y'all did the first goal, protect Black women, man. Like, I mean, I got a whole bunch of questions in there right there, but I want to go right to y'all. And, you know, like our sisters a lot of time out here, they feel abandoned. They feel unsafe. They feel, you know, unseen. And she just gave you guys the greatest compliment that a Black woman could give on the real. Like, how do y'all feel hearing that, man?
Yeah, I mean, we I can let you go after this, Darrell, but always on set, us as men, we always had that talk because that's the mindset that we were in as well as portraying the Panthers, that we had to protect our Black women because that was a thing. And we also had the Panther Cubs on set letting us know that that was a thing. If we're not there for them, then who is there for them? If we can't be their leaders, then who will be their leaders? And if we can't look to them for nurturing, then who do we look to as Black men? And so the whole time on set, we kind of I feel like we created a blanket around each other so where they knew and we knew that we protected them and they protected us. And we made that a very serious thing. We talked about it all the time throughout as a man on the set too.
Yeah, I mean, I'll protect these two women with my life, and I don't say that lightly. But I know what they've given me more than I could ever give them, and they protect me in a way that because I feel the spirit that they protect me with, and I think this idea of like, I think Hollywood has an obsession with women and Black women in general of not trying of not showing this true strength of women and Black women. And I mean, I don't know weak women. You know, nobody in my family is a weak woman. I just don't know them. But I feel like what we are shown is so often are women who are somehow in need of distress or in need of like a help from a man to come save them. And when you see a Dominique Thorne and a Dominique Fishback, I mean, me and Fish have a whole thing where it's like her power is so, I shake when I'm around her, you know what I mean? Because, it's like an inside joke, but it's just like, yo, she's so, I mean, they're just so.
Wait, you gotta tell because I'm from Brooklyn. Right?
Yeah, she's from Brooklyn. So
Dom is from Brooklyn too. We from Brooklyn.
And so like,
sorry, I cut you off. But the two times that they knew that I was from Brooklyn was when I was on a basketball court with them.
Oh my goodness.
And I was like, you're gonna have to call that foul. I ain't giving it.
Whoa. She worked out?
No. Here's the thing. She was on my team.
Let's hear the story.
Yeah. Hold on. So we were on the same team, and but it's like Don, like you're talking about, like she got Charles Oakley fouls. Like people going up to her, you know what I'm saying? She's taking a baseball bat to their knees, and she's like, "Yo," and she would look at them. She'd be like, "Oh, you gonna call foul?" And they'd be like, "No, I'm good." And they crawling off the court, broken in half. Cause she don't play that. You know what I'm saying? She like, and then somebody be at the top of the key, and who she guards at the top of the key, and you're like, "Don, go get him." And she just be like, "Brick, you ain't gonna make it." On the baseline, she nowhere even near him. You know what I'm saying? You can't say nothing to her. Like this is to say who Fish is like, she's like the leader of so we were staying in this spot, and so Dom, like, people say, "Oh, I'm gonna come downstairs, meeting 5, we're gonna go eat," right? So it'd be like, come down at 5, like cool, maybe be like 10, 15 minutes late. If you say you be down at 5,
yeah,
Dominique Fishback, be down in
your
2.
line. She's on your line.
Down in 2.
Yeah.
Because you will play yourself if you're not down there. So I'm in there, she'd be like, "Oh, I'm gonna be downstairs at 5. I'm throwing stuff up, jumping out of windows, trying to make time. It's time for her, because you don't play with Fish's time. You know what I'm saying? But just to get back to just the strength that they have and what they've given us, and like Algee said, like this is family, and we mean that, and I think in this business, you're very lucky if you get the opportunity to work with people that become family, because it doesn't happen as often as you wish it would. But we can genuinely say that with this project and with these people.
Yeah. So the movie imparts, obviously, if you have a cultural love for your people, the movie imparts is obviously sometimes it's a lot. Y'all know. It's tough. It's told through the lens of the relationship. It's actually they're dual lenses. One is the lens of the movement that Fred Hampton was leading, that you guys have talked about, and it's beautiful to hear the camaraderie that you guys were able to kind of have on set, because it really comes through like on screen. Like it looks like you guys are going to war for each other on screen. It really does. So there's definitely tough scenes to watch. I'm not, I'm not going to put myself back there. There are tough scenes to watch, particularly the Kool-Aid scene, things like that. And obviously the scene that did the tough scenes to watch. I'm wondering for you guys, people that seem so in tuned and seem to have such a high cultural IQ, what was the toughest part of jumping into these roles and playing them? Was there a particular, for everyone, a tough scene for you to play, a tough time, a place you had to go that was particularly emotionally taxing on you?
Go ahead, bro.
No, I mean, every day. I mean, I think the whole of it, not to sort of dilute the question, but just the whole of it, because we'll never be able to repay the Panthers for what they did for us. And so trying to get it right every day and feeling that anything could be a misstep, or just, going back to the hotel and sleeping thinking like, was that going to make them proud, or did I do that right? I mean, that is a weight that that I still carry, and there are scars that we have from this film that will never go away, because you're playing with people's lives, and it's not a joke, and we want to get it right and to do right by them, because we owe them everything. And so for me, it was an everyday thing, there was a day in particular. I'm sure, Dom, you'll probably jump in on the day at the apartment, the actual day. I'll let you, but just for me, it's every day, just praying that I somehow make them proud, because I'll never be able to repay them for what they've done for me in this culture.
Wow, well said, brother. For real.
Yeah, you want to go, Dom?
You can go.
For me, it was so when I first signed on, when I first came into it, I was talking to Shaka, and we had discussed, Shaka, our director, and we had discussed the character arc for Jake Winters, and knowing that Jake starts out so bright-eyed and enthusiastic, and then we see these certain events that we were able to see. Some didn't make it, but certain events that we were able to see turns the character very dark. And so for me, it was the challenge for me, and the hard part for me is knowing that right now in the world, we do need a Fred Hampton, but everybody feels like Jake Winters right now. You feel what I'm saying? Everyone has that feeling in their heart. So for me, that was the toughest thing to play that, and to carry the weight of almost every colored person in the world or America, to carry that weight and to have that weight of, wow, this must be what everyone feels like doing. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's heavy. That's really heavy to carry that every day, and have to be the one to. I was on set by myself when I did that. I had no cast members on set. Everyone was gone. So it was just me and the director. And having that weight, like you're holding the whole film and doing this part of the film, that was tough for me.
Did you want to go, Don? I think there was like two particular moments that I could think of. One was when Mama Akua, Deborah Johnson, came to set, and it was her first time seeing me in character. And I was, they said, oh, Mama Akua is downstairs by Video Village. I was like, well, that's where I'm not gonna go. And I had to do my scene with Dom, actually. And after the scene, they come and say, Mama Akua wants to see you downstairs. And I'm like, oh, okay. Hard, hard. And then I get down there, and she says, you did that motherfucking scene. That was a Deborah Johnson up there. You did that. And she was like hugging me, and I was like, it was such a weight off my shoulders, because that's what I cared about most. She's living, she's here, I'm representing her. So if she can, and we don't have much footage of her at the age that I'm playing her. We don't get to see her, hear her voice. So I really had to go off of my intuition. I journaled as my character, so the journal, I actually have the journal here. It's like my lifeline, but it's the journal that I use in the movie, and I really journaled every single scene. When she first meets Fred, when they first kiss, I write poems for when she first meets him, when they first kiss, any interaction that they have, I'm doing that because I don't have videos to go off of, and she is a living person, so I can only go based on my own intuition. So to hear her say that to me felt like, oh, okay. Now, I have no control over the movie or if they like everything, but for that moment in the flesh there, she saw herself. And so that's all I could be responsible to give. And then the other scene was, it was the night before the assassination scene. And it was the 50th anniversary, actually. So we filmed that on the 50th anniversary of the assassination of Fred Hampton. So we were in the replica apartment. So the energy was really high. Yeah. And and that the night before, I'm just like, something's wrong. Like my body is anxious. I got knots in my stomach. My chest is just like, my heart's pounding, and I'm wondering what's going on. And then I had to say, oh, Dom, that's your body reacting to what's gonna happen tomorrow. And I had to tell myself, it's not real. Daniel will be okay. You know what I'm saying? But my body didn't understand the difference, because when I set out to play this role, I said, how can I get to the place at the end when she covers his body? Like, how can I love somebody so much that I will do that? So I really had to take Daniel in. Oh, does he have a dimple? Oh, how does he take up space? So I'm really internalizing this thing. And so by the end, when I'm like so overwhelmed with emotion, I have to cry. I have to mourn this loss, because it is a loss. Even though we live on, we're never gonna love each other the way that Fred and Deb love each other, and we're never gonna love each other the same as we did in this movie. You know, so it was the end of something, and so I had to allow my body to do that.
And real quickly, just to piggyback on what Dominique just said, that day on set, every day I go to set, I sort of have a song that plays in my head, the internal playlist. You know what I mean? It's just gets you in the zone. You know what I mean? Rocking up the set, put on the wardrobe, makeup, everything. When I got picked up that day to go to set, and from the minute I left set, I heard not a single thing in my head. I couldn't hear anything. It was like trying to get a record to play and it wouldn't play, because the weight was so heavy on that day that like I'm getting chills even speaking about that day. And just knowing that we were sitting in this apartment and I'm sitting here looking at all these people that I love. And like Dom said, you're like, they're going to be okay. But like, am I going to be like, it's so heavy, you know? And it's sort of like, it's a day that like, I for one will never, ever forget, you know? But yeah, I didn't want to jump in, Thorne, if you want to.
Yeah, like I feel all of that. And even just having the conversation, I mean, I don't know about for y'all, but it's kind of putting it back into my body. Like I can physically feel the weight returning. And what Dominique said about intuition, that really resonates with me, because for Harmon, there wasn't a person to look to. And as we discussed, Dom was like the springboard in terms of like the female presence on set. And so there were still a lot of moments where Harmon was kind of like having to hold her ground. You know, she was the only female face in a lot of these moments. And so to think about how my intuition carried me through this, it's that I think that for me was like one of the biggest things, because I'm very, very much in tune with what it is to be the only, and what it is to be the only woman, what it is to be the only Black person and the only woman. That is a story I'm very familiar with. I went to middle school and that was the case for me. So it was deeply personal. And now to be stepping into this role where this woman in particular is more or less, it's hard to, you don't want to think in these terms, or at least I didn't, but it's hard not to. You end up feeling like this woman is representing all those women, the 49 to 51% of the Black Panther Party at the Illinois chapter, you know, was women. And here you have this young little 20-year-old that's trying to represent them and hopefully do them justice. And the biggest thing for me, and I had a lot of conversations with Shaka about this, was that I don't want to be a prop. At no point in this film do I ever want Judy Harmon to come across as the female face in the room, or she's just here to, you know, represent the ladies and keep it pushing, you know. I did not want that. It was my hope, my wish, my goal for her. The one thing that I hoped to do was to make her and to have her feel like a full and complete person with a very clear purpose. She knows what she's here to do. Her reasons to live are very much her reasons to die. And I want you to feel that every time you see her. I want you to understand that why she's here and why she is the one that's here, you know, because there's a reason for that. And so it is a lot, and it is heavy, and it is a moment that, as everyone has said, is unique, and that I think will have to remain, you know, there in the preciousness of that time. But I hope that, like you said, that others who see this film and take it in, that they can feel that same sense of, I think, duty that all of us felt and still feel having stepped into it, because it's as important to us as it was to the characters that we played.
I just want to also celebrate you, Dom, too, because you were totally a rock for me, and there was many conversations that we had about the woman's voice. Like, we know that this is a film about the X, Y, and Z, but how do we make sure that the women's presence is known? And I remember we would sit in the hotel room and talk about this, and then be like, well, let's call Shaka right now. So we call Shaka like, we feel this, and that. During Shaka's lunch period, we're coming to the table like, hey, Shaka, can we talk about this right now? You know, and he always made space for us. But I just want to say, like, I'm so glad I didn't have to, you know, do it alone. That I'd be like, Dom, how you feel about this? And that we could balance each other. I don't want it to seem like it's all about Deb, but how do we make sure that women's voices are heard? Sure. You agree with this? Yes, I agree with that. You agree with that? I don't know if I agree with that. Okay, cool. How do we bring it to Shaka now to try to make sure that we represent these women the best of our ability? Being so
that were outstanding too. That were outstanding. Y'all killed it.
So we got about 5 minutes left, and one day I'm gonna meet all y'all in person. And I'm gonna talk to y'all. I'm gonna get deep into my old Uncle Van bag of tricks. I'm gonna talk to y'all because when y'all was talking, I heard the words instinct, intuition. One brother told me that he had his mind quieted, and another sister told me that she was feeling her way. I'm gonna talk to y'all about how y'all ancestors was holding y'all hands as y'all was getting in y'all bags playing these parts. And I'm gonna do the whole South Louisiana thing, but we don't have time for it right now.
Yeah. We already know.
You know, we don't have time for it. I don't want to scare nobody. Now, so Dominique Thorne, you are a member of Delta Sigma Theta.
Yes.
Wow. We're gonna get on our HBCU tip right now. What are some of the teachings of Delta Sigma Theta, real quick, that have kind of molded you into the person you are today?
Grit, fortitude. I think it's so funny that you say that because I actually had someone on set. I can't remember. It was somewhere in my transition between Harmon and Dominique. Someone actually used that word when speaking to me. There's like something about your fortitude, and it shook me for a moment because I was like, oh, okay, I'm where I need to be. I'm doing what I need to be doing. And it was this same spirit of involvement and a sense of like a civil liberty that you as an individual must take on, and you're not going to leave it to anybody else, that led me to join this group of women. And so for me to feel that come back around, to feel that principle sneak its way, or not sneak, but to walk its way up to me into this character, and to hear someone actually say that without knowing anything about the fact that fortitude is like, you know, a foundational principle, it meant everything. And so I think it you know, it follows you. And if you are positioning yourself, I feel like in the ways that if you're positioning yourself with the principles that brought you to that brought you to seek out this person, this passion with these other women, then I think that you'll find that success, and you'll find that sense of fulfillment that we're all really looking for, you know? So that's what it was for me. It was the grit and the fortitude, and knowing that, like, okay, I'm right in line. I'm right in line with the thing that caught my attention, and I'm glad to be contributing to it in whatever way I can.
So last question. First of all, how many of y'all up here went to a HBCU? Darrell, which HBCU did you go to?
Hampton University.
Oh,
yeah.
Yeah.
I got some stories.
Yeah.
Everybody, hold on, bro. We never
Man, we got to talk. Man, we got to talk.
I was like, hold on, bro. You ain't never told me.
I got some stories. We used to take that drive from Baton Rouge.
Yeah, we got stories.
Yeah, we got some stories. So for those of you who didn't go to an HBCU, the question is, if you had to choose one that you would have wanted to experience or have wanted to go to, which HBCU would you choose? I'm not gonna be mad if you don't choose Southern, but which one would you choose?
I'm gonna pick Southern.
Yeah.
Wow. You got your brother right here talking about Hampton, and you like, nah, you good. Nah, okay. All right.
Because I get my education from you every day, every time I FaceTime you.
Nah, that's okay.
I'd have to say Howard. You know, that's the motherland for the same sororities we were just talking about. So I think and I also have some family there too. So just to see how strong that history has been, holding it down in every aspect, I would love to dip my toe in there.
Yeah, I would say Howard too.
Yeah.
Howard. Yeah, Howard's a good
Yard Fest.
Yeah.
Incredible.
That was a fantastic answer. And Howard, which is where our current Vice President-elect Kamala Harris went, right? Dominique, she chose AKA.
Yeah. How do you feel?
How do you feel?
Yeah.
Women of the D9 are out here making remarkable strides. I am impressed.
Good answer.
That's a good answer. That's a
Great answer.
The only answer.
All right, you guys, I sincerely hope, and I mean this in all sincerity, I sincerely hope that you guys understand the amazing art that you've contributed to. You guys, Shaka, the Lucas brothers, Daniel, Lakeith. Next time I see Lakeith, I'm gonna give that brother a big hug because I just don't know what it must have been like to portray that character for that long and to do it with that type of skill. Just the places his mind had to go. What a fantastic movie. What a fantastic group of young people. I'm happy to have talked to you guys. I feel better about myself and my day. So thank you for joining us today.
Appreciate you, man.
Appreciate you, Van. Thank you, man.
Thank you, man.